our meeting. Dr. Thomason, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and Dr. Thomason, will you do roll call, please?
President Kaler, please let the record show that all 5 board members are present tonight.
Thank you. We're going to go into a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion or questions on the agenda?
Madam President, is this the time when I can ask that an item, or that we consider removing an item, or do I have to wait one more step? It's 6.5. I just was hoping we could talk
When
more
we
about
get to
that.
consent, I will
Thank you.
help you with that. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is our superintendent's report. Dr. Thomason.
President Kaler, we've had some exciting things happening tonight. So at this time, I would like to invite up Ms. Richards to do some presentations. Ms. Richards.
Thank you, President Kaler, Board, Cabinet, and this amazing community. Tonight's a night of celebrating success, and I am so proud of every person in the school district. So this is an opportunity to thank you for your support, and acknowledge our students, our teachers, and our administrators. So every year, the Arizona Department of Education awards letter grades. We are so proud that we have so many schools represented this evening that received a grade of a letter A. So that's worth a... So Michelle Reese was great because she reached out to Mr. Lebsock here. Can you wave? He is the graphic web designer teacher at Higley High School. And you're going to be amazed at what you see this evening. I'm going to let him introduce his students, and then we'll continue.
Good evening, everyone. It's a sincere honor to work with this great group of young men and women. And I want to introduce them real quick. First and foremost, Tyler Baus here was our team lead. He kind of helped put this together and kind of steer this project. And as we work as a in a career and technical education program, we try and treat it like the real world. So each project has a lead, each project kind of has a guiding force. So for this project and creating these banners, he was it. We have Ethan Avery. Joseph Campanella. Ty Lays. Caden Peterson. Mark Armador. Marcus Weber. And Janiyah Kemp.
Okay, at the very end, Michelle, I want to make sure we get all these guys with their teacher up here with the school board. So don't run away, all right? All right, we're going to start with Bridges Elementary, I need Mr. Bickle and Mr. Berg to come up and accept your banner. Yeah. I'm going to have him show this amazing piece of work. Congratulations. He's going to roll it up and hand it to you, but maybe we can walk back there and you can receive it. Miss Broadley wants a turn. Next, we have Centennial Elementary. We need Miss Broadley and Mr. Burville. I would love for your teachers to come up. You know what? They do the work. We're the support system, right? Yep. Here it goes. Thank you. All right, if there are other teachers out there in the crowd, when your school's called up, jump up here too. All right, let's move on to Chaparral Elementary, Miss Hanson and Mr. Pepper. Nobody wants to be in the middle. Thank you. We need Coronado Elementary and Mr. Armstrong. I believe Mr. Griggs is holding the fort down with a parent meeting, so. Harder to do, right? Uh-oh. All right, next we have Cortina Elementary with Miss Kelly Papke. I'd be careful with it too. It was a lot of work. Thank you so much. All right. Next, we have Gateway Point Elementary. We need Miss Katie Harris and Andrea Zabo. And it looks like teachers. You have students here too. They're the most important part, right? There it is. right. Higley High School with Alan Fields and James Walker. These are all Higley High School kids over here. Thank you. All right, Higley Traditional Academy. Mrs. Karen Bacon, Melissa Gardlin, in a cheering section. Thank you, guys. It's nice to see the teachers here. All right, Power Ranch Elementary, Chris Reuter and Michelle Coda. Yeah. All right, Santan Elementary, Ray Mercado, Lindsay Reeves. Yeah. Yeah, so good. Next is Sossaman Middle School, John Dolan, Brandon Keeling. And our last school this evening is Williamsfield High School. Mr. Tannenbaum is doing like 3 events this evening. I think he's driving to get here, but we're going to acknowledge him and you can wave at him when he walks in the door. Amazing job. Before y'all run away, can we get the teacher and all the kids with you? And we'll help with that. Thank you, everyone, for celebrating with us this evening. I hope we're starting a new tradition as we move forward here in Higley.
Thank you. Mr. Tannenbaum, can you hold 1 second? President Kaler, members of the board, Mr. Tannenbaum was also recognized for another award today. So earlier today at Williamsfield High School, Mr. Tannenbaum was recognized as the Grand Canyon University Technology Administrator of the Month for the state of Arizona. Congratulations, Mr. Tannenbaum. For upcoming events, we have Wednesday, February 12th, governing board meeting at 5:30 here at the district office. And then Monday, February 17th, we have President's Day, so there will be no school. And then Friday, February 21st, we'll have the superintendent's visit at Sossaman Middle School, starting at the preschool at 9 o'clock and then moving to the middle school. And then on Wednesday, February 26th, there'll be the governing board meeting here at 5:30 p.m. That's the upcoming events for February. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Going to move on to some board comments. Mrs. Wilson?
you already know I have them. We actually, I think almost all, actually all of us were at the Gilbert State of the Town together, and that was awesome to see all the board members. I think we were the only district that was all there, which was nice to see that we all represented well. And then I also visited our middle schools as we're zoning up next year, and they're getting ready for that, and they're all excited about that. And we also got to visit Power Ranch, which was a great visit as well. And we got to see all their exciting. I really enjoyed the Wednesdays that they're doing over there, which I was unaware of, and that was very cool. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
President Kaler,
Yes, Mrs. Reese.
I attended a really good summit yesterday, and it was regarding different revenue streams and business partners. And we already do have business partners, and we hold a business partners breakfast once a quarter, but it gave us a lot of different ideas. School Connect is now going outside of Arizona, so they talked about the new states that they're going to and what they've done. So I will be getting a summary of that summit to Dr. Thomason to be forwarded to the rest of the board.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to move on to request to speak, and I do have some speakers, but they've indicated they want to speak at the agenda item, but I'm going to go ahead and read this now. We value input from our constituents. The time has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Please remember, this is not an appropriate venue to evaluate, discuss, or criticize district personnel. Policy KEB provides a process for complaints about personnel. Speakers should be aware that false statements about individuals may result in civil liability. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431-01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. So I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 6.5 for additional discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to make a motion to amend item number 4 on agenda item 6.5. It's the Sossaman Middle School trip to Disney, to increase the number of chaperones to 52 parents and 15 staff members for a ratio of 1:2. Is there any discussion on this item?
President Kaler?
Yes, Dr. Thomason.
As superintendent, I did give authorization for Sossaman Middle School to move forward with the Disneyland trip as long as the students and the district did not incur any additional costs. So at this time, I would respectfully ask the board to approve the request as it has been put forward by President Kaler, with the understanding that next month a work study be focused on the process and procedures for future field trips.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Any other comments?
Yes, President Kaler.
At this time, I think I would like to have our speakers come forward. Is that okay with you, Mr. Glover, if I do that first?
Yes.
Okay. Amber Barnhart, please come forward.
Oh, can you hear me? Am I good? Okay. I'm Amber Barnhart, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I was expecting to speak before the amendment, and I want to say that I appreciate what you have done tonight. I would like to, can I clarify something? So are those the ratios that were presented then on January 15th?
Yes, they are.
They are. Then thank you for your time. I have nothing further to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I also have Bernie Canez, if I said that correctly. Thank you.
And again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I've had the privilege of being here before through some volunteer opportunities. So given the change too, there are some things that I would still like to address and some things that I would still like the board to take into consideration, not just for this trip, but for future trips as well. One of the things is, I hope you guys understand how much time and effort goes into planning a trip of this size, excuse me, of this size and magnitude. It involves students, parents, teachers, staff, and it's been in preparation for months. And I'll speak from a student side too, just because my daughter's an 8th grader. She's known about this trip for years, and it's something that she has looked forward to and has been part of the fine arts program, I think, since she could be in elementary school. She had to choose this year between a band participation and an art participation, so that was difficult for her. But for us to have to tell the students that they may not be able to go on this trip was just stressful for them, stressful for us. I am the current PTSO president at Sossaman. We manage and help manage all the functions involved in this trip, from paying for vendors, tickets, facilitating and helping the teachers find a spot big enough for all of us for a breakfast event. It's just so much work. And I think that if the board would consider having stricter guidelines or even guidelines in place that we could follow and know up front, we didn't know that that was going to be an issue. And if we had known that that was going to be an issue back in October when we first filed, it would have been a very different approach and a very different outcome. One of the things that I had noted in here is that I'm a believer of the more the merrier, right? We're going to the happiest place on earth with 120 teenagers. I don't know how many of you have teenagers, but even having 3 in a group, you know how they are when they get together. And I almost felt like we were punishing parents for wanting to participate in an activity like this. So just requesting respectfully that I plan on being part of this district for a long time. My daughter's moving on to Higley High. That if we can just have consistency. I don't know why our trip was approved and others were approved at the same ratio. That's something that, again, that I feel should be looked at so that we're not faced with these obstacles in the future, and that teachers are not putting all of this time and effort to make a great trip only to have obstacles placed in front of them that are that shouldn't have been there to begin with. So I appreciate the reconsideration, but I just ask that, again, going forward, that there is a better process and a better guideline in place. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Glover.
Thank you, and thank you to the speakers and to everyone who wrote to us. I know it takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of everybody. I didn't see this coming, so I just want to explain to the audience that open meeting law, which was, I think, from the pioneer days of Arizona, it allows us to talk to one other person on the board on something that we're going to vote on. And we can talk to the superintendent, but sometimes the result is that we don't have all the information. And the people that wrote to me, I said to them, I felt badly I didn't advocate more. I did not know that was coming. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm glad that we have thought about this and taken into account what people are saying. And I agree with the speakers. We have worked really hard. And this is one of the things I was going to say, but now I won't. But is that we have a plan and we should follow it. And policies and procedures is something we've been working really hard on. It may not have seemed like it 2 weeks ago, but we are in a much better place than we were a couple years ago. And it's because we do sometimes disagree, but we can be civil. And I think that's also another thing we can learn from all of this. You know, America is quite divided, and we can have civil disagreements and still work together. And I have never questioned the intent of the folks that serve with me. Their interest is always students first. It's never about themselves. And I have worked with boards and worked under boards that had an agenda and an axe to grind and were anti-public ed. And that is not this group. And so I'm glad, and I thank them for thinking about the things that were sent to us. And we'll always we just try to be better, always, and that's what we want from our kids, that's what we want from us. So thank you guys for reconsidering, for proposing that amendment, and we have work to do, and I have confidence that we'll get it done.
Thank you, Mr. Glover.
President
Oh,
Kaler?
yes, Dr. Thomason, go ahead.
President Kaler, echoing the same sentiments as Mr. Glover too, and as a superintendent too, it's also not appropriate as a superintendent to poll my board. And so when I'm up here listening to, it's also the first time I'm going to hear how the board members are going to vote. I don't know what's going to happen until it does happen here on the dais. And so I don't ask my board members because it's not appropriate or even legal to ask my board members how they're going to vote on a subject or an item before it comes to the public. And so from that standpoint also, I'm hearing for the first time, as you are, as an audience or as the public, what's going to happen. And so as you, I'm hearing for the first time what the outcome of a decision is going to be for an item that comes to a vote, just so everyone knows what's happening on the dais at the same time.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Mrs. Reese?
President Kaler. Also, there's a lot that's gone on in the background that the public doesn't see. You saw our conversation. The ratios aren't always just as they appear. Another one may appear 1 to 2, but there's 6 students and 2 teachers. So there's a lot that goes into it, that it's not just what's on the board packet. So everyone might not see everything. Like Mr. Glover said, we don't have the opportunity to have discussion with the other board members until we're in our meeting. And from there, the discussion goes how any discussion goes. And so there is a lot of information and background, and like Mr. Glover said, and I completely agree. Good policies and procedures, documented policies and procedures, and we have been working on field trips as this board for 2 years. So we have another work study in February that hopefully we can get something finalized, and policies and procedures, because we've asked for the same things. So hopefully we can move forward, get this addressed. We don't want influx, and we want the kids to go on this trip. And I appreciate our superintendent letting us know that he's the one who gave the authorization to go forward, because there is a larger process here. There's a preliminary process that happens, and then there's a final process that happens. And so thank you, Dr. Thomason, for sharing that you're the one who authorized to move forward. And I respect that as my superintendent, and I will support my superintendent's request.
Thank you, Mrs. Reese. If there's no other comments, go ahead, Mr.
I would just like to
Wojtowicz.
make a comment. As I was listening to the speakers, I had my flashbacks. For many of you don't know, I'm originally from Michigan, and I was also a band booster. I was a member of the Public Relations Committee for our marching band. We had 200 students in our marching band in the Utica Community Schools, and we did a lot of fundraising, and it was kind of interesting. In the Midwest, we sell oranges and grapefruits. You know, it's a novelty, but that's what we'd sell. And one of the trips we went on was to the Holiday Bowl, and we were in Disneyland, and believe it or not, we were at Disneyland chaperoning on New Year's Eve. But yeah, I'll tell you, it was a great time, and we had many fond memories, and I do know the work that you guys do put into it. I've been there, and I applaud each and every one of you for making the great dreams and things for your children. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wojtowicz. I just want to wrap up this conversation, if everybody's okay with that. I, too, echo a lot of what Mr. Glover has stated and Mrs. Reese. The board saw this field trip on January 15th for the first time as a board. And so many conversations since January 15th have taken place, which I'm thankful for. This has been an ongoing concern for our district, and we will continue as a board with not always the same opinion, which makes us a very great board, in my opinion, as Mr. Glover stated, to work on policies and procedures for field trips moving forward. I invite you all to come back in February for our work study. It's going to be held back in that room, and it's very kind of an open dialogue, so please come if you'd like to have your input. And also, I just want to thank Dr. Thomason and my board for your diligence when it comes to asking the tough questions, and there were some for this one. So when it comes to the liability, the finances, the safety, and the educational value, I am grateful for this board. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So I'm going to make a motion to approve now agenda item 6.5. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mrs. Good, did I do that correctly? Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy Disneyland, and you don't have to stay. I can understand why you were all here. We're going to move on to our work study now. Oh, first, if there's any future agenda items the board would like to discuss. Okay, then we're going to move to our work study.